The big story today, sad as hell. Good Wednesday afternoon to you. I am Dylan Ratigan, and we begin today with a look at our nation's future through the eyes of the folks who will have to make it work. Those who are among us who are under the age of 35. You may see many of them, particularly at the various Occupy demonstrations, and many others fighting in our longest wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. Here at home, with soaring costs of college education, record high student loan debt, and a horrible jobs outlook, something that has never happened before in America's history is now happening. Our youngest generation expects that they will do worse in their lifetimes for themselves than their parents have done before them. Just look at the numbers in the new State of Young America report. A quarter of all young Americans are putting off getting married. 46% are waiting to buy homes in the face of decade-low prices on housing. That probably is a good decision. But despite all the doom and gloom, 70% say that the American dream is still achievable in their view if changes to the way we do things are made, and they believe that it is up to them to find that way. And Tamara Draut is Vice President of Policy and Programs at the Demos think tank in charge of the study we were just discussing. She is also author of Strapped, Why America's 20 and 30-somethings Can't Get Ahead. Erica Cadell is a junior here in New York at Fordham University. She took part in this study and will be, get this, $75,000 in debt by the time she graduates. Erica, how old will you be when you have all this debt?
I will be 20.
So you'll be 20 years old with $75,000 worth of debt.
Yes.
And what are you getting in exchange for this debt?
Hopefully a lifetime of work that I am actually involved in and that I want to be involved in.
And that really is the story of almost every young person in America, which is I'm willing to take whatever the risk is of going into debt to secure an opportunity to go to an American university so that I have an access to a lifetime of possibility that I might not otherwise have access to. Is that what's happening?
Well, that is what is happening. And one of the messages...
So they're getting that life?
No, they're not getting that life. What's
well, that's my question.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were asking is...
So we're saying they're taking debt...
flooding to colleges.
I know, we all know what's happening. Yes. What I'm asking you is that happening?
No, when they come out, they face very real challenges. I mean, this is a job market that's super tough on young people right now. Plus, they have these student loan debts. I mean, could you imagine 20 years old and have $75,000 in student loan debt? You know, I think this is really a wake-up call for our nation. Is this really the way we want to build the future middle class in this country? And I think the answer should be solidly no, and we need to start talking about how we turn this around.
How typical do you feel you are? In other words, when you look at your friends, Erica, and your fellow classmen at Fordham, and your friends at other colleges, how common is it for folks to have even a little, let alone a lot of debt at the age of 20, 21, 22 years old?
I would say a majority of the people that I know have some sort of debt. It's nearly impossible to try and pay the full cost of tuition. I go to Fordham, and if you want housing as well, along with tuition, it's $55,000 a year. What family has $55,000 a year of extra income that they can be throwing towards something? Not many.
It's interesting because if you look back to post-World War II, and America's view on education, the GI Bill, and everything that we've done, or we used to do, where we would look at the young people in this country and we'd say, listen, we will help you get an education, and in exchange for that, we would like for you to use your education to help make America more prosperous. And it feels as if what's happened is we've abandoned that concept of investing in the education of our young people, and instead are saying our young people are an opportunity for debt creation and rent seeking in the face of fear of if you don't do what we want, got to go to this college, got to pay this money, or your future will not exist.
Well,
what's happened?
You're exactly right, Dylan. I mean, we've turned the whole thing on its head. It used to be that we sent kids to college mostly with grants that they didn't have to pay back. And you know, the GI Bill was a big step to opening the doors of college to a lot more people than had been able to go before. And then in 1965, we took another giant leap where we actually created the system of grants and loans that still exists today, except it was more about grants to help first-generation, lower-income families send their kids to school.
As an equalizing event
exactly.
in a country that's predicated on opportunity, predicated on the broad and equal resources of our educational system.
That's right. Historically, education, particularly higher education, has been our primary lever of opportunity in this country. And right now, that lever is seriously broken because it requires $25,000 on average to get a diploma now in student loan debt. And a lot of people like Erica that have so much more. And now, in a really lousy job market, I think we're finally starting to see that this is not a good plan for investing in the future of this country.
Yeah. So to both of you, and I'll start with you, what should we be doing? What can I do? What can she do? What can the people at home watching do? Because it is clear that we have to do something that's not this.
Well, you know what's really great is polls show that the majority of Americans think that Occupy Wall Street does indeed reflect their values. And so the first thing is we all have to stand up for what we believe and for a better future direction in this country. I mean, it's going to take a sizable shift in the political will in this country to do what we need to do to rebuild the middle class. But I want to say one thing, because we've only been talking about college grads. We absolutely have to make this economy work for people who don't have four-year bachelor's degree, which is the majority of young people. You know, 2/3 of young people don't have a bachelor's degree, and they're not going to get a bachelor's degree. I fundamentally believe we have to have a middle class, a blue-collar middle class. We need to make things again in this country, and we need to allow young people who don't have bachelor's degrees to have a decent quality of life. Yeah. That's important too.
What have you seen people doing? What programs have you seen? And how important do you think the occupation movement is in reflecting the rejection of the sorts of systems that you're now sort of herded into as a young person in this country?
I think that the occupation represents every type of person. The type of media that says, you know, look out there, it's only, you know, trust fund babies, trustafarians, people who want to be hippies but they have money. And I say those people need to go there and look, because they're just lying to you. I've been there, you know, no less than 5 or 6 times, and let me tell you, every time I meet someone new with a different perspective, a different reason why they're there, and, you know, black, white, Hispanic, you know, indigenous people are there, old, young, everyone is there. And I think, you know, even beyond people agreeing with Occupy, there's just some simple steps like investing in education. Both of my parents are educators, and they've been educators their entire career. And you know, now they're taking pay cuts and they're having to accept less benefits, and that's not okay. Are we really saying that a CEO who all he does is make money deserves more money than someone who educates children all their life? My parents will never see $1 million as long as they live, and a CEO will make that today. That's not really fair.
There's an interesting dynamic with the, and I guess I would look at it like there are certain individuals and forget individuals. There are certain businesses right now that have major policy advantages in our government. There's a massive multi-trillion-dollar ongoing taxpayer subsidy for the financial institutions to fund their gambling habits, for instance. That pays really well. The rest of us don't get that, right? When you have $75,000 worth of debt, and your choice is a job as a teacher where they're cutting benefits, a job as a life sciences of some kind, or in energy efficiency, or in design and engineering, all of which we have an excruciating demand for. And yet, $75,000 in debt, the best paying job in town is going to be over at Goldman Sachs. If you're going to pay off your student debt, you're much better to go join the snake that's eating you than not.
Sadly enough, that's true, and I'm just trying to work to not have to do that. You know, my options are maybe go to grad school. I had wanted to go to law school, but that's flooded too.
That's more debt too.
Yeah, everyone and their mother wants to be a lawyer. Everyone thinks that they can argue, and you know, that's what it's come down to. And right now my options are basically find a way to go to grad school or join the Peace Corps, or do some other service work, because I don't want to sell my soul.
Right, and that I think becomes the real tragedy, and this is what will dictate the next 50 years of this country.
That's exactly right. And this whole situation was summed up by one of the best signs I saw down at Occupy Wall Street. And it said, went broke trying to become middle class. And that's exactly what Erica is on track to do. She's on track to go broke, just trying to become middle class in this country. You know, people are borrowing their way to a better future, and it's a gamble. You know, it used to be a college degree was a pretty guaranteed ticket to a middle class job. That's no longer the case anymore. A lot of college grads are going to be fine and do very well, and they have a leg up compared to people without college degrees in this economy. But it's not a guarantee, and when it now comes with 5-figure student loan debt, that's when we have to really pause and say, is this what we want the future of the country to look like? Now, we all have a stake in making sure people can get the education and training they need.
Listen, it's a pleasure. Thank you both for the conversation. Erica, her face is so cute. It's hard to imagine somebody who is so young and so cute, $75,000 in debt. It's terrible. Thank you for sharing the story with us. I think that this may be probably one of the most resonant things in this country right now, because it could not be a less political issue. It's just absurd. Thank you, guys.